With Halloween just around the corner, the sequel to the 1993 cult classic Hocus Pocus seems to be on everyone's watch list to get into the spooky mood. But to keep the Halloween spirit going after having watched the film, we've dug up some creepy fan theories for you. And trust us, they'll be sure to keep you up at night, including what that weird ending might truly mean. The black flame candle theory. As we all know, the film shows us how Gilbert gives a black flame candle to be lit on Becca's 16th birthday. So, let's be real, he's kind of at fault for bringing back the Sanderson sisters. A fan actually came up with a super horrifying theory for how the candle was made by Gilbert. So, this theory takes its roots from the original Hocus Pocus film, since we thought that was how the candles were made. And the answer is truly horrid. They were made by using the fat from a hanged man. Yep, you heard us right. Now, of course, this was all from a time when public hangings were practiced, a time which was long before Gilbert's, right? So how did he make that candle then? Was he so possessed by the Sanderson sisters that he actually murdered someone to revive them once again? We know for a fact that Gilbert had learned how to make those magic candles from a book on the night in 1993 when the sisters had died. He recounts this in the movie by saying, it wasn't pretty. What Gilbert's presence there means is that when he'd gone to the witch's cottage that fateful night, he was bound to have discovered the two bullies, Jay and Ice, locked in cages. This is further confirmed through a scene within the credits of the original movie. So, we're sure you've recognized by now where this theory is headed. After all, the two bullies must have been there, just hanging there at his mercy. They really shouldn't have stolen Gilbert's Halloween candy. Were they the source of the two black flame candles that Gilbert made? Well, if so, then dreadful as they were, we think killing them and using their fat to make candles is a rather extreme form of revenge for candy stealing, don't you think? We're sure you'll see Gilbert in a whole different light after this theory. We know we do. The Witch Mother's Coven. Let's move on to our next theory now, and this one's definitely kind of insane. It comes from the opening scene of the film with the Sanderson sisters and the Witch Mother. This scene adds to the lore of Hocus Pocus and opens up a whole can of worms. But the biggest question we have is, what exactly happened to the Witch Mother's coven? We thought at first that she must have lost her coven to witch hunters or trials. After all, she lived in a time where the world wasn't too fond of witches. Despite this obvious inference, a few eagle-eyed fans have discovered clues in the films that could actually relate to the loss of the coven, and we can also see some hints about the Witch Mother having cast the Magicae Maxima spell herself. This would also explain why she makes sure to warn Winifred to never use the spell. The Magicae Maxima in the film is a spell that's pretty frowned upon. It's said to make a witch all-powerful, but it also brings doom to the one who used it. And here's the thing, this theory is further solidified by the similarity of how the eyes of the Witch Mother glow purple when she uses her powers, just as Winnie's eyes glow purple after she's taking in the extra powers after having used the spell. So the Witch Mother may have had to cast the spell to gain more power for the protection of the coven, and had unintentionally lost her sisters during the process. And then there was the scene where the Witch Mother says to the young Sanderson sisters that, "Thou art lucky to have each other. A witch is nothing without her coven." Seems like this wasn't just a bit of friendly advice, but rather possibly an indicator that the Witch Mother regrets the loss of her own coven. The ending. Now let's talk about the ending, because it tells us a lot. The Hocus Pocus sequel ends with the sisters Mary and Sarah first dissolving into a glittering dust, while the third sister Winnie joins them shortly after. So they seem to have left for good this time, but even this end is kind of controversial. Some avid fans point out the final scene where Becca, Cassie, and Izzy are doing the unmistakable Sanderson witch walk. This is a super clear nod that the sisters have now possessed the bodies of the three teenage girls and are living on through them. And then there's the scene where Becca and Cassie say that they don't understand what's happening to them as they're doing the witch walk. Remember? Even if this theory does hold some truth to it, it's actually more likely that it's not the actual Sanderson sisters who've been reborn into the bodies of the teenage girls. Instead, maybe it's more along the lines of the playful spirits of the trio of sisters having been passed on to the young witches. Or maybe it has something to do with the Witch Mother Raven, since they can clearly be seen flying behind the witches in that final scene. Cobweb the cat. In the original movie, when the Sanderson sisters receive book from the Witch Mother, they first want to perform a spell that would turn the person into a cat. The first person they considered putting the spell on was John Pritchett, a boy who Winnie had been forced to try to marry when she was young. Now there's a black cat in the sequel as well who's named Cobweb. And while the movie makes it clear that this cat isn't Thackeray Binks, as was in the original film, the witches say when seeing the cat that while they know it isn't Thackeray, they still sense a human spirit in the cat. So who could the spirit be? Here's where it gets dark, as some fans believe that the spirit in the cat could be John Pritchett. It makes sense, right? Young Winnie could have punished the boy for the mean comments he'd made about her in front of the whole village when he asked to marry her. These fans point to the scene where Cobweb helps Izzy and Becca in finding book after their escape from the basement. This could have been John Pritchett trying to get revenge on the Sanderson sisters for what they'd done to him. Another scene that supports this theory comes from the original movie. So, when Thackeray Binks was turned into a cat, he also helped Max, Allison, and Danny in defeating the witches who'd put the spell on him. The biggest conflict with this theory is the fact that Cobweb doesn't talk unlike the Binks who's seen speaking on multiple occasions throughout the original movie. And what about Allison's daughter? Except for the Sanderson sisters themselves, we saw that most of the cast from the original movie weren't in the sequel, but that doesn't mean there weren't tons of hidden references and little nods to the OG Halloween classic. Like, one fan pointed out that Cassie's house in the sequel looks the same as Allison's from the original, and we might make the connection that Allison is Cassie's mother. This theory mainly came to life as the actress who plays Cassie in the sequel stated in a film tour interview that the cardigan her character wears is an intentional throwback to Allison's look in the original film. These hints made us look into the two houses from the original and the sequel, and there does seem to be a lot of similarities between the two. These include the stairs leading up to the front door, both houses having a width of 5 windows, and they both have similar looking shutters, but we can't say they're identical because there are some major differences. For one, Cassie's house is bigger and has 3 stories as opposed to 2 on Allison's. There's also an extra balcony on Cassie's house. But while these contrasts in architecture can be attributed to remodeling of the older house, the major criticism to this theory is that the sequel clearly shows Mayor Trask's campaign poster, which has both Cassie and her mom on it. The woman in that picture is most definitely not a grown-up Allison in any way. So unless the woman in the poster is Cassie's stepmother somehow, this theory isn't as strong as the rest. Honestly, another reason why a lot of fans would want this theory to not be true in the first place is because it would mean that Allison and Max would have broken up sometime after the end of the first movie for Cassie to have been Allison's daughter. And while we'd like Cassie to be the daughter of one of the original characters, we just can't accept that Allison and Max may have not ended up together. Let's talk about the trilogy. We're going to be honest. We were pretty disappointed to not get the original trio back, or even some references about them, but some fans actually came up with a theory that could fuel the third movie, if any. We could see the original trio band together with the 3 new witches against a new villain, and we're not going to lie, that does sound like a super fun movie. But another hat in the ring of potential trilogy plots predict the third film acting as a prequel to the original. It'll delve into the history of the 3 Sanderson sisters, and this could actually be in line with the wishes of Bette Midler, who plays Winnie Sanderson. She explained in an interview that she was pleased with the end her character got. Winnie finally realized that her family was the most important thing to her, and Bette feels the sisters had gotten a good end. So a prequel could be good as it wouldn't ruin the well-done arc for the witches, and it could actually solidify their place in pop culture even more. What could we expect from a movie like that then? Well, a prequel could show the story of the Sanderson sisters after their exile from Salem, and then follow their tale into the Forbidden Forest. This could also build on their interactions with the Mother Witch and the experiments with Book that followed after. And that's not all, as we would get to see more of Hannah Waddingham's Mother Witch, who's become a fan-favorite character after the second film. Waddingham also carries a lot of potential in her acting abilities to explore a new aspect of the Mother Witch's character. She's also musically gifted. Could be a musical in the future? Well, the possibilities are truly endless. The creators could even connect a possible prequel film to the present-day story to create connections between the original Sanderson sisters and the witch trios from the first and second movies. And then there's the theory of Winnie and Allison, where Allison could be a descendant of the Sanderson witch. The original fan idea explains this connection being made through Winnie's relationship with Billy. But let's be fair, they just share a kid. We're getting too far ahead here. Anyway, whether the ancestry connection is made or not, fans will be sure to adore any developments at all which create connections between the multiple films in the franchise. And that's a wrap for today's video. So, did you watch the sequel, and did you like it? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one. We'll see you in the next one. Until next time, thanks for watching.